Well, all right. We're back at it. This time, we're at the table with an initial review. Today's initial review is of the brand new Salomon Quest 04. Oh, would you look at that? Let me get my pointer pen here. Yeah. Quest 04. This is the brand new upgraded version of the Quest 4D3. So in this initial review, I'm going to call this part 1 of the initial review of the Salomon Quest 4. And what part 1 will do will just be to discuss the overall changes and features between the two models. So, let's get at it. Whoops. Oh, I shifted my camera here. Let me just get that rearranged. Rearrangings. Okay, there we go. Okay. So I got 2 right feet here, because it's got to keep it clumsy. And let's see. First and foremost, I feel like there's definitely been a change in materials here. You can see we have sort of padding and leather all the way around on the 4D3, and on the 04 we've actually got some, this is pretty rigid material in here, where this stuff here, it's much softer, much more padding around the back of the top of the ankle, where instead of having this more rigid wraparound leather element, thusly you can see it's actually more of a much softer sort of neoprene foam material there. I imagine that's going to be much more comfortable doing dynamic movements and whatnot. If you're running a lot, this way would definitely, all right, well, it's one of the first differences, and then we'll look at the sides here. But the top, they've added some, it seems like they've heightened the boot, maybe ever so slightly. Yep. Does seem to be a little bit taller, even with my camera's at an angle here, so it might be a trick. So let's just, yep, you can see there, top of the, let's see if I can do that properly. Let's see. Yep, so that's, yep, right there. That's slightly taller. So they have added some height to the new version over the old one, and it seems like they've done that to add in these sort of support panels. Since they've taken out that rigid zone at the back, they've compensated for the support in the upper ankle by adding these stiff, relatively stiff for footwear, leather panels. It kind of layers in there. So you can see that outer support panel, and then the main body, and then the inner padding. Yeah, okay. And very similar lacing hooks. Same old Salomon sort of locking carabiner style lace lock. Slightly different. And again, it's just they've sort of and the first big difference is you noticed at the top is just the support system. They've completely redesigned it so that instead of just having rigid wraparound components at the top, it's more of a, what's the word I want to look for? It's more of a composite at the top here, where there's a lot of like one-piece construction here. This is more like piece. So it's kind of just a composite almost. Okay, we'll look at the other sides here, and very similar. You can see that same support panel. Laces. They've changed the colors on these. These are pretty much the same. Maybe this one's a bit wider. No, I'd say they're probably this. I think, yeah, actually this one's a bit wider, I think. Maybe. Yeah, maybe a bit wider. We'll see. Anyway, moving on. Then down in, this is neat here. This is one of the newer, most obvious standout features of the 4 over the 4D3, well, 04. Boom. And this actually does do that. And I believe they've done that to improve flexibility in the in this zone, or you know, if when your feet start to swell over long distances, this will stretch outwards. But we will see if that happens, because I have not actually worn these yet. These are pristine, not touched ground, so this is literally out of the box first impressions comparison. Okay. What's very nice about that is, again, it does become a complete component, wrapping all the way around the boot, which is very nice. And we can move on down, and which then points out the next zone of the upgrades here. We have a much, it really seems like they beefed up the heel cup zone here, where kind of squishy, not very squishy at all. Oh yeah, and I know these are broken in, very old, but you know, the top part here, like where I'm grabbing there, feels as rigid as like grabbing the heel of this boot, like the foam, and like right down at the bottom. So I'm assuming there's going to be a significant support upgrade in the heel cup zone, because not only do they have this wraparound element, they've also added an extra support plate to the exterior, and I think that's gonna add a lot of support. Okay, and then top down on the back side, and we can see again they have again modified the heel shank zone. Seems like they've added some extra foam volume compared to the older version. Now this may be, I mean, this is the older version and this may be packed out, but I mean, just visually, there is a lot more EVA foam in between the shank and the outsole. So again, it's upgrades. Okay, and again, you know, if they're doing this for comfort, the tail of the tape will tell when we get to the trails. And then when we look at the side here, it does become quite obvious. They've significantly increased the volume of EVA foam in the heel section here between the shank and the outsole. It does seem like they've reduced the volume of the shank to increase the volume of foam, which I think will increase flexibility overall while maintaining support. But again, we'll see. We'll see. moving down the side of the boat. Not much structural changes here. Maybe, it looks like they've, in the arch zone here. Yes, in the arch zone here, it looks like they've brought the arch down so that they can increase the tread lug volume. See what I mean there? So it looks like they've reduced that arch and brought it down to increase the amount of rubber and foam in the arch area. That seems fairly apparent. They've shortened this. You can also see they've shortened the shank. The shank doesn't come as far forward. You can see that there. And they have replaced that. And they've, again, increased the volume of foam. And I'm thinking they've done that to reduce stiffness and increase flexibility while maintaining support and comfort. Because the old Salomon, this I do know from having worn 3 pairs of boots. These boots can be stiff and inflexible compared to, shoes. Anyway, moving up, you can see again there is a difference here at the forward treads. Just looks like they've exaggerated some of those angles there at the front. Yeah, it looks to be like trying to make the boot more flexible, because as you can see, those are pretty shallow curves, and that's a very sharp angle. So I would imagine when that flexes, it's gonna have more space to flex in. Okay, up at the top here, very similar toe caps. I figure this shape change here may just be cosmetic. Give the boot a little bit of a more robotic look, I guess. I don't know. It's very nice still. It's a very nice profile up the boot. Okay, and then we'll go to the side here. This side again. Front to front. See if I can get that. So contra grip to contra grip, and not much changes here. Kind of similar angle changes to the outsole and the insole zone at the front of the shoe. There seems to be some beading. You can see here they've got they've ran some beads here and here, and they've textured the leather there. Usually when you put a bead like that into a piece of material, whether it's metal or cloth or something like anything that can be beaded, it's done to increase rigidity while not really doing that much to the material. So and if they've done that beading to increase the rigidity of this material while not affecting the flexibility of the leather, that could be very good for the toe bend zone. Now, never had any issues in this area, so we'll see if that actually makes any improvements. Cat's meowing at me. Again, we have moving down the boot, we can see one of the probably most obvious changes in the shank zone. Pretty obvious right there. So you can see the old shank right there. Pretty basic compared to what they've done here. Now, the interesting thing is this upward swinging piece here, sort of monolith, I guess you could call it, is not through the insole. That's in the boot there. And so that's a very interesting feature where they've used the body of the shank to support the instep of the midsole. Pardon me. I have done some strange modifications myself to old pairs of boots that have bits glued to the outside that do actually provide a good deal of support. And so seeing that concept go from my janky jury rig DIY stuff into this highly advanced molded piece, I'm looking forward to trying these on. Okay, so we've got some interesting flexing features. We've got some beaded, rigid, strength building panels. Enhanced heel zone, increased volume of foam, shortened shank. Yeah. And finally, the treads. We do have to look at the treads at some point. And so I've gone out there and picked, let's put the new one on top. The old one should be the bottom. There we go, that's better. Okay. And it seems fairly obvious that there have been some significant changes to at least the, I guess, exaggeration of the treads. You can see here in the older version, there are these kind of spars between the front treads, but they were never very exaggerated, where here on the new version, they are very exaggerated. That's like, yeah, that's not just a little piece of rubber there for show. That's gonna do something now. And the drainage lines here seem more exaggerated. They're definitely wider. The lugs seem beefier. Overall, it just seems like they took that same old Quest 4D tread and just upgraded it the way they did the rest of the boat. Yeah, and again, I haven't even put these on yet. See, there's just a little bit of dirt from the table. But yeah, they haven't even touched the ground yet. So this is just part one of the initial review of the Salomon Quest 04. One thing that I forgot to point out is this bit here on the tongue. They've got this neat little hanging piece. You could hang stuff from it. There is sort of a thing here, like, you can kind of hang the boot off of that, but I never once found any need for using that, where even just carrying these boots around, just the house, I've already used that. So that's already an upgrade. This is just a decorative patch. It's got a neat little tab, so whatever, it looks neat. But this this little carry handle here, like I've said, I've already used that. So it seems like an upgrade to whatever this was supposed to do. Okay, well, there you have it. If you've watched this far, you've watched it all. And I'm going to call it here. Salomon Quest 04 Initial Review Part 1 Feature Comparison. Thanks for watching, and remember to stay warm and dry out there.